Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm at my local Royal Enfield dealership, Smalley Cross Motorcycles in Derbyshire, and I'm here to ride one of their CF Moto 450 MTs. Is this the Himalayan 450 beta? Let's go find out. So sit back, relax, and come along for the ride. So guys, welcome to a wet Wednesday. We are out on the CF Moto 450 MT. I've been dying to get on one of these bikes because they are really hard to get on at the minute because there seems to be a mass shortage in the country. In fact, if you put a deposit down on one today, you'll probably have to wait around 6 months. And I think they're doing it on a first come, first serve basis. So if you're after one of these bikes, get your money down quick. But before you do that, let's take this bike out for a little ride, a little review, and let's show you what it's all about. First things first, as soon as you get on the bike and fire it up, the first thing you notice is the exhaust note. It sounds absolutely beautiful. That's because it's got a 449.5 cc engine, parallel twin, with a 270-degree crank that makes it sound like a V-twin. I guess the direct competition for this bike, everybody keeps putting it up against the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 that I have in my possession, and I've done a fair few miles on that bike, so I know a fair bit about it. So it's nice to get on this one and let's see what everybody's talking about. As always, I've got Amy B on the back. She's going to give you that pillion perspective on this bike a little bit later on. So as you can probably see from the dials either side, this screen is adjustable, and just as I come down the motorway, I kind of dropped it down, and that really made a massive difference. This is in the highest point at the minute. I can kind of just do it on the fly if need be, and as soon as I start dropping that, I'm getting that direct wind in the visor now. So at 5'9", I'm just kind of copping the top of it, but it does make a difference, so that is a good feature on this bike. I like the set out of the switch gear on the bike. It all feels very nice. Nothing feels too cheap up to now. So the other thing I notice is this 5-inch TFT screen. The clarity on that is absolutely beautiful, and it's set out really nice. It's just got all the information you need, your gear, your speed, your revs. It's also got the odometer meter reading there, and how many miles we've got left in the tank, and a little fuel gauge here as well, and also the battery voltage. The other thing I've noticed as well, you can actually change the screen on the fly, and a lot of bikes don't generally let you operate those features whilst on the move. I mean, bear in mind, I'm 2's up on this bike, we're in 6th gear, I'm giving it kind of full throttle, and this bike pulls really nicely. We've got 42 brake horsepower, 8,500 revs, we've got 42 newton meters of torque at 6,500 RPM. So as an example, I'll just sort of let the speed drop down. We're kind of doing, let's get down to 30, and even in 6th gear, I'll lay the power on. You can just see it's building up nicely. For a small engine capacity, and we're 2's up, it does pick up rather well. And when you get on that throttle, that exhaust sounds just beautiful. I like the fact they've got this clear brake lever reservoir as well. That's a nice touch. The bike definitely feels like it's bigger than a 450. Ergonomically, you do sit into the bike rather than kind of sit on it, but it's a nice riding position. I'd say the pegs are quite high. For me at 5'9", I wouldn't say that's a problem, but what you can get with this bike as well is a rally seat that ups it 50mm, which is quite a bit, which will take it to 870mm. Standard seat on this bike is 820, but I'd definitely like to give the rally seat a try. And the accessories on it, it's £116 or thereabouts for the rally seat. I think I'd buy it just to give it a go. I think it would just give it that a little bit more height for me in the legs. I wouldn't say it's causing me a problem, but I don't think I'd want to be sat on it for hours on end. But being 820mm makes this bike more accessible for more riders, to be honest. Also, what you can do, if you are a shorter rider, you can drop this down to 800mm just by removing a bolt. The pre-hole drill is already drilled in the rear shock and in the linkage, so it's dead easy to get this bike even lower if you need it. Well, we are storm dodging today, guys. It's just started raining again, and I'm just kind of looking in the sky to see which is the best direction. Yeah, it'd be nice to get it on a nice dry day, but then again, it's an adventure bike, and you need to show these bikes sometimes in the real environment. And if you live in the UK, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I've heard a few people online complain about the throttle being a bit snatchy, and they're right, it is, to be honest. It's not ever going to be a deal breaker, because I think it is something that can probably be rectified down the line. But in every sort of gear, even in 5th gear, if I drop off the throttle and then just give it a little twist, you can probably hear it. It's quite snappy. Personally, it doesn't bother me. So if I compare this throttle to, say, the ride-by-wire throttle that they have on the Himalayan 450, then that's quite the opposite, really. You've got to give it a bit of a quarter of a turn just to kind of get the bike to engage a little bit, whereas this one is a little bit sharp. The clutch on the bike is super light, gear changes are nice and positive. Right, let's just turn off because we're kind of in the rush hour traffic at the minute, and I don't like it. Let's see how hard it is to get it into neutral. No, nice and easy. That's always a bonus. I hate bikes that you just can't get into neutral gear, but that just went in first time. If we just jump off the bike for a second. One thing I do want to show you is the geometry on the bike as well, because that side stand is it's quite upright. I do like this with adventure bikes because you kind of step onto them, which makes it a little bit easier if you've got luggage. Whereas what they did with the Himalayan, they had the side stand probably a little bit too far over for my liking. Worked well in the Himalayas, not so good on the flat roads. So with this bike, you do have to be a little bit careful where you park it, because if I've got it the other way around, this road slightly cambers off a little bit. It'd probably be a little bit too upright, and then you're at risk, especially on windy days, of the bike falling over. And as you can see, we've had a lot of rain. Going up the hills on the gas with 2s up. It has got a nice amount of power to the bike. So the guys down at Smalley Cross Motorcycles in Derbyshire have got this demonstrator in, so you could go give them a call, give them a try if you wish. And they put about 600 miles on the bike, so what they've done, they've dialed that suspension in a little bit better. I think there were complaints of it being a little bit hard, and they've adjusted that, and actually this bike feels pretty spot on today. Just give it a little brake test. Yeah, the brakes are nice on it. Again, everything's been bedded in on this bike. It's even had an oil change as well. But so far I've not felt like this bike feels underpowered at all. If anything, most manufacturers have been competing for that brake horsepower, and I've always said it's not necessary on a bike like this. For me, it's having something that's manageable, something that's usable. And this is a pretty good all-rounder. Yeah, very much like the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. A very versatile bike. I'll be honest, I don't think I'd want to be sat on the motorway on it for too long. When you get into that 6th gear and you're doing about 70 miles an hour, this bike is really revving out, to be honest. I'm not sure the fuel consumption will be great if you're going to do motorway riding all the time, but again, you wouldn't buy this bike if that's what you're going to do. The other thing I noticed with the bike as well when I first jumped on it was how light it was. It got about half a tank of fuel in, which makes a bit of difference. Fuel is heavy, They were saying the dry weight's 175 kilo. I think that's pretty much dry weight with all fluids drained. So yeah, the reality is it's about 195 kilos, but it does feel lighter. Oh, the other thing is as well, just on the tower down here, you've got a USB and a USB-C port as well for charging your devices. That's cool. So we're kind of getting onto some of the roads are a bit more broken. And to be fair, the suspension is handling it really well. We've got KYB suspension on this bike. So yeah, like I said, the brakes work really well on the bike as well. J1 Brakes, a Spanish company that has now been bought out by Brembo. So they're only going to have good brakes when they're putting their name to it. We'll just give it another brake test. I'm going to do rear brake only. I can feel the ABS kicking in there as well, which we can turn that off on the fly. The little switch on the left here disengages the traction control and the ABS off the rear, and literally just hold that in for about 3 seconds, and once you've dropped off the throttle, that in disengages the traction control and the ABS at the same time. So what I'll do is just do a little whoa, bit slippy on the old cattle grid. We'll do a rear brake test without the ABS on. Yeah, the back wheels locking up, that's what it's supposed to do. So the standing up position on the bike, again, it's kind of nice. I think if it was any taller, you'd probably want to consider some bar risers. I mean, turning the bike, again, because it's so light, you can just do it so easy. So you really do get that big bike feel.
Getting it dirty.
I know, mate. It's a brand new one as well.
See?
It's
It's all cow shit around here.
yeah.
Last time I bought a brand new bike was a Thunder Race in '96 to race the TT.
Oh really?
Yeah,
oh.
and it was £8,000.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, a long while ago.
That's some good memories though.
Yeah, we did it for about 4 or 5 years, and then we stopped.
I was at Darlingmore on Sunday with John McGuinness.
What is that?
Yeah, he was there doing a bit of showboating. He's still quick, isn't he?
Yeah, a lot quicker than me. Anyway, you have a good day. Enjoy.
Thanks, buddy. So yeah, if you just have a little listen to this exhaust, I mean, how nice does that sound? Beautiful. Sounds great, doesn't it? So just spinning the bike round in the lanes and stuff like that, again, because it feels so much lighter when you're riding it, it just gives you so much more confidence. Some of these bigger bikes do tend to be a little bit more intimidating, shall we say, and this one doesn't feel like that at all. I mean, it's got the traction control, but me personally, I don't think you necessarily need it, but again, it's an added benefit if you're a new rider especially. But like I said, ergonomically standing up on the bike, it's nice. A couple of people complaining about this tank being a little bit kind of wide at the front, but I'll be honest, it doesn't bother me. You don't ride it like a motocross bike, you ride it like an adventure bike. But for the riding I'm doing today, scratching a few B roads, going down the lanes, we'll try a little bit of off-roading in a minute. And the time I've been sat in the seat as well, I don't find it uncomfortable. Oh yes, we are flying! So yeah, like I said, on these type of roads, I'm finding the bike absolutely brilliant so far. You've got that nice power delivery through all the gears, and it sounds awesome too. That's something that's been lost over the years with biking now. Even my Multistrada doesn't sound like this. This sounds better. So just having a playing around with the switch gear, it feels really good. It doesn't feel too cheap. So the roads today are a little bit greasy, a little bit slimy, and we're just going to take to these trails now, which this is going to be bumpy. So let's get that ABS switched off. Quick press on the fly. The traction control is now off. And don't forget, I'm twos up while we're doing this as well. I bet Amy on the back's thinking, where is he going? Like I said, you've just got to get a bit used to that throttle. If you're not feathering the clutch, which like I said is super light, then it can be a bit snappy. But I'm just going to take my time because we've got no crash bars on here, and like I said, these bikes are irreplaceable at the minute. You just can't get them. Right, okay, so yeah, now we've come across some puddles. Oh, there gives me nice clean bottoms. Tyre wise, they're not the best, I'll be honest. So tyre wise, I think I'd definitely probably swap these out, something a little bit softer. Maybe dropping a couple of PSI in them will help scratch through some of this mud and some of these lanes. But I reckon if you change the tyres out, you probably transform this bike once again. That one was a bit deep, but it didn't struggle. It didn't struggle. Whoa! Yeah, we've definitely got a bit of slippage going off. Amy thought we were going out for a leisurely ride today. But let's face it, this is how you get to find out how good these bikes are. You know, try and recreate situations that are a reality. You know, I'm no Chris Birch. Yeah, I must admit, I mean, it is a bit of a slippy day today, and I mean, the good thing is about it, a bit like the Enfield, you know, the seat height is so low, you can duck paddle if you need to. So these so-called puddles are a little bit deceiving. But we're through. Like I said, we have had a lot of rain recently. Normally I'd be up on the pegs, but it's not so easy. You've got a pillion on the back, but you just take your time and the bike gets through absolutely perfect. So guys, what did I think of the CF Moto 450 MT? Well, I've got to say, this is a wonderful bike for the money. £5,699, and like I said at the minute, you just can't get them. So you got to get your money down, get on that waiting list if you want one. Overall, the performance of the bike has been absolutely brilliant. I'm loving that parallel twin engine. It's got that 270 crank, like I said, gives it that beautiful exhaust note, and the engine performs really well. The clutch, again, is really nice and light. The gears are positive. The suspension, now, it's kind of been dialed in, kind of suits the riding that I needed. Love the fact that we've got tubeless tyres on the bike as well as standard. The tyres I personally would swap out. They were getting a little bit sketchy back there. The one concern with it being a Chinese bike, everybody's a little bit put off by build quality. Looking around the bike, everything looks nicely put together. Even these plastic panels, if I was going to add crash guards, would I add crash guards? Probably not, to be honest, because I think that'll just add extra weight, and the purpose of this bike is to try and keep it nice and light and manageable. So overall, the build quality is pretty good. Like I said, these plastics, I reckon they would take a couple of good drops. As for the handguards, I think these are a little bit too plasticky. Again, little things like that wouldn't put me off buying a bike, of course. But yeah, I reckon they wouldn't last very long after a few drops. But that's an easy swap out and a cheap fix. So little things make a big difference, as CF Moto have clearly thought about it, like this folding rear brake lever, and the same on the other side with the gear lever. Also, the rubber foot pegs just pop out. You can do that on the fly without any tools. Probably a good idea next time when I go down those muddy lanes, because that's where it does get a little bit slippery. So let's have another little listen to the exhaust on this bike, because it sounds absolutely beautiful. So brake wise, like I said, this is carrying the J1 calipers, which I find are absolutely brilliant. They're part of the Brembo brand, and on the front we've got a 320mm single disc with a 4-piston caliper, and on the rear we've got a single 240mm disc with a single 1-piston caliper. So tyre size wise, this bike's running a 90/90/21 on the front, and on the rear we've got a 140/70/18, and I like the fact they're tubeless. Another little trick bit about these bikes is these foldable mirrors. I thought by looking at the pictures they might be a bit cheap, but actually I was completely wrong. When you're riding the bike, you don't really get any vibration through them. The viewing's good, and you can also fold them in as well. So if you're going through them tight lanes and there's trees and bushes, you can fold them in and get them out of the way, and they actually feel really sturdy. So seat height wise, like I said earlier, 820mm standard. At 5'9", I've got my feet flat on the ground. I'd say it's a little bit of a compromise when I am on the pegs. The pegs are quite high, which is great for the clearance when you're doing the off-roading. I think the ground clearance on this bike is 220mm. You can drop it down to 800mm for the shorter riders, and it's just a case of removing a bolt out the rear shock. I personally would like to try the rally seat on this bike. It puts another 50mm on the height, which is quite a bit, but I prefer to sit a bit higher up into the bike. I like the fact that they've put the rear rack on as standard. That's a great addition there. So if you want to strap a bag or a tail pack or something, it's already there. So Amy's been on the back of this bike, and we always like to get the pillion perspective from her. How's it been on the back of this CF Moto today?
Yeah, it's been really comfortable. The seat's great. It's a little bit more comfortable than it first appeared. Little bit of a higher riding position as a pillion, a little bit sportier. But it's got these big grab handles. They've been great, and yeah, I think we could spend quite a lot of time on here and be perfectly comfortable.
So this bike also, you can get it in two colours. This is the grey, and also you can get it in blue. I think this is the nicer colour of the two, but again, all comes down to personal preference. Price wise, absolutely brilliant. It's £5,699. You also get a 4-year warranty with these bikes as well, so that's got to give you a peace of mind. My original question was, you know, is it the Himalayan 450 beta? And for some people, it's going to be. And I'll be honest, I think if I'd not got the 450 Himalayan in my possession, I would probably go and buy one of these. So if you fancy a test ride on this bike, get in touch with Smalley Cross Motorcycles, located in Derbyshire. I'll pop their link in the description below and you can go and try it for yourself. So I hope you like the video, guys. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Give us a like and I'll see you in the next one.